child. I grew up in a rural area. One day I will take you guys out there where I grew up. Um, and the area I grew up with, there was nobody really around where I grew up but Amish. That's why I can speak a little bit of Dutch, Inchividi Dutch. I played with the Amish kids. I played in the for I would say it's like a forest, okay, behind where I live. I was always out in nature. I want to talk about this because I feel like this is very important. When you are psychic and you're medium, it's normally through your bloodline, right? You have people that have had this gift too, and a lot of us have this gift. A lot of us are just not tapped into our gifts. Okay, maybe you might be tapped in as a child, maybe might be tapped in as an adult. But it is through your bloodline. Okay, so if you see, I had a marking on my forehead. A lot of people also that are psychics, mediums, um, empaths have been through a lot in life. Okay, when I was young, my father married a woman. Her name is Irene. She has crossed over. She crossed over when I was 16. She died of cervical cancer. I don't know if I touched on this in any of my videos, but I want to touch on this. There's a mark on my forehead. Okay, there's 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 children that come in with a veil or a star. I say a veil or a star. If you hear me talk about a child with a veil or a child with a star, they come in with a veil and a star. Okay, they come in with a gift. Okay, now the marking on my forehead is not somebody on my forehead. Somebody commented. I'm laughing because there is something that happens, but that's in another video. Just let me stay on this, okay? That happens on the forehead, okay? But babies come in with a veil or a I call star, okay? That means that they have a gift. You can be empathic, you can be psychic, you can be medium, okay? You can be indigo child. There's many names to it, okay? But when I was younger, my dad married a woman. She had 4 kids, but she wound up having 5 kids. And I was the step daughter, okay? My dad at that time only had me. He didn't have my sister at that time. And he met this woman, and he had one daughter with her. That would be my sister, Jessica. She's the youngest. So it was Raymond, Stephanie, Tara, Tiffany, then it was me, okay? So she had four kids, 4 or 5 kids when my dad met her. And she had a real bad childhood. And she used to take her anger out on me. Okay, so I was emotionally abused, physically abused, and almost sexually abused, but I wasn't. Okay, the marking on my forehead, it's weird that I look back at pictures of when I was young. And also I wasn't born. Remember I told you guys I was born with a learning disability. That's what they call a learning disability, but it's not. It's actually a gift. Okay. Also, I wore braces on my legs like Forrest Gump. Okay, I didn't walk straight. Okay, um, but my stepmother, for some reason, did not like me. Okay, if you see in the picture, I have a bruise on my forehead. Okay, that's probably after getting an ass whooping. Okay, now the ass whoopings that she would give me were not like, how your mom and dad would spank you, um, and we all of us, older generations, your mom would pick up a shoe or or hit you with their hands. This was abuse. Okay, abuse. This wasn't like a spanking or um, being hit with the shoe. In Spanish they say chancletas. This was different. Okay, there was one time where she beat me where I bled so bad that like my hands are shaking right now. But oh my gosh, she beat me so bad where I bled, and I couldn't even sit on a chair. Okay. Now, and she would take um the tree branch and beat me with that. Okay. But I was always the target. Okay. I couldn't understand, and I would always try to do things like clean up, um, feed the animals, do extra so she would like me. Oh my God, you guys, I'm sorry. My hands are like shaking. But a lot of children that are abused, that go through some kind of trauma in life, we carry that in our adulthood. Okay, I let that go a long time ago. Okay, actually forgave her. Okay, she's actually buried with my father. Okay, at his where he's buried at. Okay, his ashes are at, some of his ashes. He wants to be buried by his first wife. Okay, that was his first wife. He was married twice. And one time, I'll never forget. She Everybody had a room, but my room was in the basement. My story was like Cinderella, like seriously, like Cinderella, um but worse than Cinderella's story. Okay, so anyways, I couldn't understand why this woman never liked me. Her name was Irene, and I'm calling her name. I felt her around me a couple times. I did tell her I forgave her, um because she also went through abuse. Okay. um And her son was, one day he tried to touch me and I jumped up, and I could have been sexually abused, but something told me, somebody whispered in my ear, get up. Okay, so I got up. I was a child. Okay, I seen ghosts, if that's what you want to say, since a child. Okay, but I wasn't sexually abused. I was verbally abused, physically abused, and spiritually abused. Okay, so that picture that you see, um, is um, a beating that I had had. Okay, and I hit my head against something. Okay, I got many beatings. Okay, the ones I remember the most, because I suppressed a lot of that, was the time where my whole butt was like blood. Okay, I couldn't even sit down. I never forget it. I tried to sit down, I couldn't sit down. Okay. And the reason why she said she never liked me, and I'm gonna tell you guys this. She said, and she wrote a letter. This is before she died. She knew she was dying of cancer, and she wrote me a letter. I got the letter, and I never went to see her on her deathbed, but I did forgive her after her crossing. And I forgave her for me. Okay, for me, because I was carrying around that hate, that anger, that confusion. Um, but I forgave her, and like I said, I did feel her around me a couple times. But you got to heal the childhood trauma. When I do a lot of reads, it's interesting. I see a lot of people as a child. Okay, the trauma that they never healed as a child. That's why it's so important to heal that childhood trauma. Okay, it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And you have to be strong. I always kept my faith, and I always knew that I was always had a calling on my life. Okay, that may sound weird, but yes, I always knew I had a calling on my life. Okay, a purpose. We all have a purpose. We all have a calling. Um, and some of us find our calling earlier in life, and some of us find our calling late in life. Okay. Um, I knew I was different. Okay. But I embrace my differentness of who I am. Okay, because that makes me who I am today. Okay. But anyways, I healed that childhood trauma, and the mark you see on my forehead was actually evidence of abuse. Okay, it's not a face. It was one time I got the beating and I hit my head, but I remember the couple beatings that I had. But the one that I remember most is when I fell on my head, and when she beat me where I bled, like my whole ass was bloody. Okay, I couldn't even sit down. Okay, but then later on in life, she passed away, and she wrote me a letter, And the reason why she said that she didn't like me and she was asking me for her forgiveness is because every time she see me, Jennifer, she see my mother, okay, my birth mother, okay, the woman that birthed me, that had me, okay, the woman that was there for me, because I was back and forth between my mother and my father, okay, they both had custody, but I want to share that because that's the evidence of abuse, right? I look back at that picture and I really looked at the picture. Normally I just look at my old pictures, but that picture, something told me to go back and look at that specific picture. And I noticed that on my forehead, okay? And that was the time I fell down, okay? And I used to run to the woods a lot. And one day I'm gonna take you guys to where I grew up. And the woods, actually the woods where I used to play in. I used to be in the woods for hours until the sun was going down, okay? That's where I found my peace. And I still to this day find my peace in nature, in the woods. It's bizarre how your life comes full circle. But I just wanted to post that picture and just do this live video. I notice when I do read sometimes, I see people as that child, right? We come in with that innocence, right? And a lot of us, our innocence are taken in some kind of way. It could be sexually, it could be physically, spiritually, mentally, and we let that take over of who we are as adults, okay? But you have to heal that inner child, okay? Whatever kind of abuse you went through, you have to heal that, okay? A lot of people get on drugs and do other crazy stuff because they never healed that inner child, okay? We all have that inner child. That inner child always will live in us, okay? But that inner child always needs that healing, okay? Because you pass down that trauma to your children, your grandchildren, and so on and so on if you're not healed, okay? A lot of people project and reflect their hurts, their unhealed issues in life. So you need to heal those issues that you never really healed in life. And let me tell you guys something. I did a video and I remember when I was growing up, you were supposed to be seen and not heard. Okay, that is bullshit. Okay, your kids need to be seen, your kids need to be heard. Okay, in a respectful manner, in a respectful way. Okay, you need to teach your children this. A lot of us were not taught this. A lot of us were taught to be seen and not heard. But we need to be seen and we need to be heard, okay? Especially these children, okay? Because a lot of these children, they hide things, they don't talk about it. Then you grow up, and I do reads, and I see a lot of people as a child and at the age of where the trauma occurred. So if your trauma occurred at 7, I see somebody as a 7-year-old child. If your trauma occurred at 3 years old, I see that when I do channeling or readings, okay? I actually see that, okay? And I was one of those children, okay? So I just wanted to come on here and say this, you guys, heal your trauma. I'm still healing mine. I will continue to heal my trauma. I forgave for myself. I forgave for my children, and for my grandchildren, okay? Because I didn't want to carry that trauma onto my children, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren. Because what happens is when you hold on to trauma, it's transparent and it's projected and it's reflected from generations to generations to generations. And when they say the sins of the mother and the sins of the father, they are not lying. Okay, the sins are carried on to the next generation until those sins are trauma. Okay, those sins are trauma, basically trauma based. Okay, because you're so let's go back. Let's say my father, he went through trauma, which he did. My mother went through trauma. Yes, she did. Everybody goes through some kind of trauma in this life, okay? It don't matter what nationality you are, what race you are, whatever. Everybody goes through some kind of trauma, right? It's how you deal with that trauma. Okay. So I'm putting this video out to say heal that inner child. Okay. Heal that inner child. Okay. You are supposed to be seen and you are supposed to be heard. Okay. A lot of minority women, and I'm going to say this, a lot of minority women um, are in too much of their masculine. Okay. Because of, for a long time, and this is not just minority women, this Caucasian women too, all women, a lot of women are too much in their masculine. And the reason why I say this is because I've been there. Okay. um because you had to do in life, you had to be that strong individual. Okay. So you're too much in that masculine where you have been doing everything on your own for so long, and you're not going to let somebody in to come into your life to help you. Okay. And the thing is, you don't need to always be in your masculine. We are feminine. We are divine feminine. Okay. And we need to be in our divine feminine energy. Okay. Not just our masculine, because we all have a masculine side and we all have a feminine side. We need to be in our divine feminine energy. Okay. And if you're a masculine, you need to be in your divine masculine energy. Okay. And you need to balance out your divine feminine energy and your divine feminine and divine masculine energy. Okay. But I just wanted to come on here to say, heal that inner child. I don't know if I told you guys about my stepmother, but I'm telling you the story now. So, heal that inner child. Okay, you're never too old to heal that inner child. Okay, that is my story. Okay, I think I touched on it a little bit, um, but I was abused. Okay, physically, from her, spiritually. She broke me down physically, spiritually, and mentally. At that time, when you're a child, you don't understand that. Okay, but when you become an adult and you live through life experiences, and you grow in your spirituality, you learn that it's not your fault. Okay. It never was your fault. It never will be your fault. Okay. It's just something that you went through. Okay. That is my story. Okay, you guys, we all have a story, but we can write our own story going forward and the ending of our story. Okay. So heal that inner child, you guys. All right. Love and light. Love and light, my beautiful souls.